What is up, people? For one, before we get into things, I wanted to say thank you for everyone who submitted a scholarship application for our Unbreakable scholarship the other week. It's been so awesome reading everyone's applications, and I'm starting to talk to all the people who applied and get on calls with them. So it's just been so amazing. I love seeing people take that bet on themselves, and I've been praying on that a lot too, even just for the people that submitted an application. Like, even that alone is such a big step on realizing, like, "Hey, like, I wanna do this, I wanna commit to this," and I think, even some of my friends reached out to me and people who applied, like, even, like, going through that and, like, reflecting on it really got me going and, like, got me motivated, so I've been praying on that, and I hope that it's just, like, that step for people. It's cool to see people put themselves first, especially when they're used to putting everyone else and everything else ahead of themselves, so, yeah, just congrats to everyone who applied. I'm reaching out to y'all, and it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, congrats to everybody. We were so excited, so super stoked to have everyone on the team and everyone that, like you said, just put everything out there and just said, "Hey, let's go for it. Let's talk about it."
Yeah, no better time to, like, take that leap and bet on yourself. Because there's even 2 it's funny, someone I'm getting on a call with, he was mentioning how he's like, "I'm really excited for this because I did a challenge with you guys a while back, and, like, I wanted to join, but then I wanted to go, like, with a cheaper option, so I hired an in-person trainer, and it just, like, it was not worth it, did not work out," and he's like, "I've been regretting not joining with you then, so I'm so excited for this." And it just makes up as, like, I love that, like, he had that perspective, and, like, I'm sure he still got value out of that person, that experience, even if it is, like, leading him to realize, like, what the next level is for him, but there is a cost of, like, not taking action too. Like, we always think about, like, the cost of, like, yeah, like, how much it costs, like, financially, emotionally, time-wise, but there's a cost for waiting and putting it off. Like, he coulda already been making exponential progress, or there's another guy I think about too where, like, every single time I check in, he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to do this, I'm committed," but, like, there's this thing, I'm like, we could have already, like, had that moment, we could already be there by now, so it's just cool to see it kinda push people over that edge and take that leap, and it feels so good once you take that first step and realize, "Hey, like, I got this," like, the momentum starts to flow, and so it's awesome to see that.
Very cool, very cool.
Anyway, before I get too off topic, today we're talking about something that is something we hear from clients a lot, and probably the biggest reason why people feel like they're starting over a lot, because a lot of people can do pretty well when life is structured. If you wake up at the same time every day and you have work and maybe similar meals throughout the week, you know when you're going to the gym, what you're eating, things like that. There's structure built into your day and things feel easy, but then maybe the weekend hits, or you're traveling, or just there's kid stuff, or family comes into town, work picks up, or whatever it is, like, something comes up and suddenly your normal routine isn't there anymore, and that's where people kinda revert back to, like, "Oh, I was doing so good, I need to lock back in," but ultimately, if you're doing well, like, 5 days out of the week, showing up and trying hard, getting in workouts, you're probably not lacking the discipline. I think it's people just don't have the plan for the days that don't look, quote, unquote, "normal."
We hear it all the time, and at least I hear it all the time. We see it all the time, whether it's with clients or just people that we talk to. A lot of times I hear, "Oh man, Monday through Friday, like I feel really good about what I'm doing. I have a really good routine, and then the weekend comes, and like I don't even know what to do, or I just feels like it all unravels, and I have to start all over again." Or like you said, vacations, work, travel, things like that. So I think the key right there is being able to adapt. Right? It's like most people don't fail because, like you said, they're not lazy, they're not unmotivated. They fail because their plan only works when life is perfect, right? It's real predictable, and unfortunately, life is not predictable. And so I think the goal isn't to create a routine that only works on perfect weeks, because let's be honest, that doesn't ever exist, right? The goal is to build habits that can survive imperfect or just imperfection in general, right? So because the people who stay consistent long term, right? We talk about sustainable habits. They're the ones that learn how to adapt without completely falling off. So, for example, like a lot of times we'll hear, like, well, I just couldn't get my workout in like the way I like to do it, so I just skipped it. And so we're always like, hey, do something. If you only have 20 minutes, do that. If you only have 10 minutes, do that. I was actually talking to somebody who's not a client of mine, just a friend of ours who works his ass off. I mean, this guy works harder than almost anyone, almost as much as you, as hard as you, Mackenzie. Not no one's in your level, but
I don't know about all
he
that.
owns his own bar and he works so hard, loves it with a passion. And he was like, dude, I work like 14 hours, man. I literally do not, I know it's an excuse, but I don't have time to go work out. And I was like, "What if you just took like 3 or 5-minute breaks and did like push-ups, squats, something like that?" And he didn't argue right away. He's like, "I'm on it. I'm gonna try it." And that's kind of like the mindset that we want is like, hey, it's sometimes you will have those great workouts. Sometimes you're gonna have the time to spend as much time as you want in there, but a lot of times you're not. So you need to be able to adapt to that. Maybe you're traveling, whether it's vacation or work, and you're like, man, it's so hard to keep up with my nutrition habits. So maybe it's instead of just I'm just going to do whatever, it's, well, I can still prioritize protein. I can still make sure I get a lot of protein. I can make sure that if I do have a bad meal or a meal that's not quite under my control, that when I do have it under control, that I make the most of it. Maybe your schedule gets real chaotic with your kids or work, and you're like, oh man, like, and I used to do this too. I'd get really frustrated because my plan like fell apart right away, right? Or all of a sudden, I mean, I get this all the time, like, hey, I need to be picked up here, I need to be taken here. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't know about this stuff. And so but you can still do things, right? You can still go for a walk, or you still get, run in place. I mean, there's many times where I've just ran in place and got some steps in, or just make better choices at dinner. And basically, we just want to avoid that like all or nothing mindset. And I think the reframing is really a big deal because the consistency isn't about perfection. It's about staying connected to those anchor habits, even when that structure changes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I know we talked about this on the podcast a while back, but I was talking to one of my calls today actually, because he's someone who's, like, also very driven, like, freaking crushes everything. I was just telling you before, like, he signed on and is immediately, like, on top of every single thing, like, he's gonna freaking crush, but that's the thing, he's like, "I wanna do everything to the best of my ability, and I wanna do it all." I'm like, "That's awesome, like, you're the man, like, that's why you've gotten to this point in life," but also it's like, you can't do it all, like, that's why you're struggling, you have 4 kids, like, you have this super demanding job working 68 hours a week, and you wanna prioritize your personal life and your health, and it's like, you can't do all that to the level that you want, but, like, we can do it all. It's just gonna look a little bit different than, like, your 100%, like, maybe you're just putting 100% into, like, the 20% that you can give today, and that is A-okay, and that's gonna get you where you wanna go, and so I think that's by that theme that you're talking about there. And like it's gonna look a little bit different, but you can still put your all into it. Even your buddy's gonna do like push-ups in between like every few minutes. Like put your all into that. Like that is going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, we very much undervalue the consistent small wins, right? Those little things that were like, hey, what is a few push-ups going to do here or there, right? Well, I mean, if you do 10 push-ups a day for 5 days, you got 50 push-ups. I mean, that's better than nothing, right? And so you just keep stacking those. And so I'm all about like I like what you just said is like you may not be able to do 100% of everything you want to do, but you can definitely do 100% of what you are doing, right? And put all your full effort into that. So, like you said, do those push-ups. Just, I don't care if they're 10 push-ups, make them the best push-ups ever.
100%. Yeah. And I know you and I were talking about how our weekends usually look a little different too. And that's why we kind of want to talk about this as well. Do you want to share more of like what this looks like in your life or things that you notice with like structure versus days where you don't have it?
Yeah, most people I feel like have that Monday, Friday, and their structure is very similar, and then all of a sudden the weekend's very different, whatever that may look like. And the same is with me, and I can tell you it's a challenge because I'm a very structured guy. So like I like my routine, and when I have it in place, like I'm I'm crushing it, right? But then like you start giving me a little more freedom and it's like I start talking myself into things. I'm like, oh, well, I can have some more of this, or I don't need to track that. I'm just going to have whatever I want. Or so I really try to make sure that one, I have at least a loose structure. So even though like I don't have a specific plan throughout the day, like I know that Saturday morning I'm going to go still get my workout in, and then I usually go to the grocery store, and then I have this and that, and then it's kind of loosely structured based on what's going on. Then like Sunday morning, I'm gonna go to church, and so I have some things in place, and those are kind of like my anchor, I guess, like my anchor plans for the day, and they're kind of built around that as well. So, but I'm still going to get as many steps in as I possibly can. And in other words, I'm just going to try to be as active as possible. My problem on the weekends is I end up wanting to snack more often because I'm just sitting around, walking around. I'm like, sometimes it just pops in, "Hey, I should go get something to eat." Why? I have no idea. It's just
It's there.
because. Yeah, sometimes sometimes it's not even on board. It's just I'm walking around, I see the pantry, and I'm like, "Hey, food sounds good." And, and because you don't have those things that are like you normally do throughout the week, right? And so I do think some kind of structure Like I said, even if it's a loose structure and having those anchor habits where, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter what day it is. I'm always hitting my protein goal. I'm always going to get my steps in, work out 6 times a week in the gym, and I'm going to get those in no matter what happens. And then everything else around there, even if on the weekends not perfect or a little bit looser, then it doesn't get off track. Right. And then if I do have a day, whether it's planned, because there's been some times where I plan, I go out and I'm whatever the situation is, and it's like, wow, those were not the things I should have eaten, but hey, it was just part of what I wanted to do. I like immediately the next day get right back on track.
Mhm.
And I think that's the other thing is just, sometimes people get real, they have a lot of guilt or they judge themselves and then they start just slipping down. Oh, you know what? I ruined that weekend. Might as well just, who cares about this week? And they just get worse, worse instead of being like, okay, you know what? It's done. It's in the past. I liken it to a relief pitcher, right? In baseball. A lot of times they get in there and if they have a bad game, I mean, sometimes they pitch 1 inning, sometimes less, and they have a bad game. I mean, if they think about that the day before, they're just going to domino effect into more bad games. They have to have the worst short-term memory ever. They have to get out the next and be like, I don't care if I give it 5 runs and only face 2 batters. I got to get out there today and I got a job to do. And that's the same type of thing. You just got to reset and move forward.
Yeah. I know. I think I've seen a bunch of different analogies with this that all like really drive that point home. I think there's one with finances. I forget what it is, but it's like if you lose money on investment or you make a bad purchase or something, like you're not going to go and then just blow the rest of your savings just because like, oh, I made one bad decision. It's like, I'm just going to get like, no, you don't do that. Or if you like get a flat tire, you don't go and slash the rest of the three because like, you don't do that. It's the same thing with this. Like one night out, one meal out, well, like even one day that it doesn't matter is usually the cycle then that follows that, which is what really sets people up.
Right. And again, I think if you're doing this out of a place of like I'm trying to improve myself as opposed to the place of I hate the way I am, I hate the way I feel, then it's a lot easier to be able to reset and be like, oh, you know what, I screwed up, or that wasn't the best weekend or the best day, but I'm moving forward, as opposed to here we go again type of attitude.
Mhm. Yeah, because I feel like my weekends used to be, like, pretty much the same as, like, my weekdays, but now recently it's very different. So, like, I basically have no structure on the weekends or very minimal, which is different for me too. It's like even my sleep, I'll, like, sleep in a little bit more, like 30 minutes, an hour, and then even then, it's like I don't train on the weekends, so, like, I've structured recovery in there. But with that, it's like I'm not working as much, like, I do work a good amount, but it's like, it's kinda just more sporadic, so I definitely don't have a lot of structure, and so that's been something I have to be mindful of as well, especially when it comes to food. I think my food, I meal prep for my whole week, so that's usually there, and then I'll leave flexibility if I do wanna have a meal out or whatever. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and with that, I'm just making better choices, but I think overall, on those days where I know I don't have as much structure, literally the night before or like the morning of, I'm going in and I'm planning. I'm like, okay, like, when's my work block going to be? Like, when am I going to eat? Like, what am I going to eat? Am I going out to eat? Like, what do these things look like? And I just have a plan going into it because kind of like we were talking about in the episode, I think it was last week. It's like just take 5 minutes to plan and plan ahead of time, like, and figure out what your day is going to look like. And that alone gives you enough structure to where you could go and make better decisions. I think that's kind of how I operate now at because I'm personally need less structure in my life, so, like, I'm kind of forcing myself to have those weekends to be less structured, but at the same time, like, I do wanna make sure that I'm still on track and doing what I need to do and not falling into bad habits.
I get it. A lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, it's a weekend. I can relax. Like the last thing I want to do is create a big routine or a structure or feel like I have to do this and do that. Like you said, a lot of people sleep in a little more, things like that. So let's get to the next section, whereas I think it's just having those anchors. And if you really establish those anchor habits, then you don't have to think about it as rule setup, right? So it's one of the biggest things that we teach clients, right? Instead of creating this like giant list of rules, whether it's on the weekend or during the week, we focus more on those anchor habits. So when life does get less structured, we just need a few things to stay in place and we feel pretty good about things. So even if your life's like completely off while traveling, your anchor habits are I'm going to hit my protein goals, I'm going to get my steps in every day. And maybe if I don't have a hotel gym, maybe I'll go do a body weight workout in the hotel room, something like that, right? Or maybe just have a crazy work week, super busy, a lot of meetings. I'm going to get my workout in no matter what, even if that's just showing up and getting one exercise in or a few reps in or a few sets, whatever it may be. Maybe it's not going to be as intense. you still get it in, right? The sleep routine stays very consistent so that you feel really good and you're getting up when you're supposed to get up, you go to sleep when you're supposed to get up. And then walking after meals, like finding something to like attach this, hey, you know what? I know I'm super busy, but after dinner tonight, I'm still going to go for that walk after the meal. And because when everything does change, like people usually either try to control everything or the go of everything. And if you have those anchor habits, you don't have to feel like you have to go one way or the other.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like that's like, I don't have structure for my weekends or, like, those days that are a little bit different, but I do have, like, a ton of anchors. So, like, I technically do, it's just, like, they're so automatic and I don't think about it, even just, like, daily activity. Like, yeah, like, I'm not training usually, but I'm getting my steps, like, naturally throughout the day, and if I don't, like, I'm going for an intentional walk just because it's what I wanna do and, like, my body feels good doing that. Same with foods, like I said, food's pretty on point. I'm hitting my macros, hitting my protein, getting my water, taking all my supplements, getting sunshine. That's an anchor for me on the weekends for sure. I'm like, "I need sunshine." So
A very undervalued anchor that
yes.
I don't talk about that much too, but man, I can tell a huge difference. It's been raining a lot lately, and when I don't get that sunshine, man, I am definitely not in as good of a mood.
I know today I was taking calls all day. I'm like, "I just need to get out. I need my sun. I'm deprived."
Yes, you need it.
But yeah, so it's like I feel like I have like a lot of anchors that I just don't even think about. Like they're automatic. So it's like I'm hitting those and I'm already like doing what I need to do. And then the rest I can just let myself go with the flow because that's more of what I need in this season. But I think a lot of people hear the word structure and like you said, they're like that sounds miserable. But like we were saying in the other episode, like structure creates more freedom. If you have absolutely nothing in place, then you're just making decisions all day long or catching up or feeling guilty from bad decisions that you made.
Yeah, I hear this a lot. If ever it comes up where I get up, where I tell someone that I get up like at 5 o'clock or even before on a Saturday morning, some people like almost lose it. They're like, "What? Oh my!" Like I want to sleep in a couple hours. Like, and I'm not. Hey, you do what you got to do, but I mean, I just feel better. Like it sets my day up. I like getting up before the world gets up. Like it's just part of my life, and it's part of it. It brings me a lot of joy, and I feel really good. And I get my morning workout in. Just everything just sets the tone for the day, and so it works for me, and I enjoy it. And that's what you got to figure out. Like for someone else, they may, like I said, go crazy, but you got to figure out what structure works for you. And like you said, not make it sound like a bunch of rules or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the key with everything in fitness is find what works best for you. Even with the sleep too, because I think about that with me. Like I did go through a phase. I'm like, "Oh, I really need to sleep in," but then same thing is like I feel already behind for me. Like I love getting up early. Like I love having my morning routine. So it's like I want to maintain that as much as possible too. So it's like sometimes you got to experiment and see like, okay, maybe that didn't work or it's not feeling aligned with what my goals are. So then we go and adjust it and you experiment and you find that good structure and routine.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing, and you mentioned it last week, we had a podcast on planning and not like, and we're talking about short term planning, long term planning, but have a plan for things, right? So, and we can't stress it. I mean, I think I have this conversation all week, right? It's like have a plan. Like I feel like people so underestimate how much spending just a few minutes, like thinking ahead can really help. And I'm not even talking about meal prepping like every ounce of food or planning out every calorie. I'm literally talking about 2 minutes thinking, okay, what is my day going to look like today? Like, am I eating out tonight? Am I going to be, out of the house most of the day? Am I going to be getting enough protein in? Because what happens is people wake up and if they completely wing the day, then it's basically the day is all a full day of reacting, right? And then suddenly it's like 7 or 8 at night, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't think I've had enough protein. Oh, yeah, I've only had, like, 50 grams of protein." So which is nothing. The more you plan in times of peace, the less you panic in times of chaos.
Anger. But yeah, I think people can feel they're being disciplined because they're saving calories, and I also don't like that strategy for most people, because they say like, "Oh, I'm being good right now," but no, usually you're setting yourself up to be in a worse position later because then you're showing up to dinner, for example, if you have a dinner out, starving, and suddenly then there's chips and drinks and appetizers and dessert, and then you're eating everything in sight and then you feel like you don't have control, but it's you just you haven't eaten all day, and that's something too. It's like if you, some people may have less structure and like they're at home all day on the weekends, which is cool, but then you got to be mindful, kind of like we were talking about earlier, of just like going and snacking just to snack because it's there. Or I feel like sometimes people are gone just out like at kids events or whatever, running around all day, and like they don't have that structure either. So it's like having that plan to know like pack stuff with you or like keep yourself preoccupied if you're at home and don't have anything to do, so that way you aren't tempted by snacks That's something I do, like, because usually on my weekends, like, I'm like, either we'll go to events or hang out with friends or just be at the beach all day, so it's like I literally pack my meal prep, put it in a cooler, like, all my food I need for the day, it's in there just in case, like, I am out. Because usually sometimes stuff will come up and I just won't be home the entire day, so it's like I always have stuff, I have my supplements, I'm just ready to go, so that way I don't have to second guess because I'm also one of those people where if I don't eat all day, then I'll come home and I'm just like, I'm so ravenous and I just wanna eat everything, and it doesn't good work either.
Well, and you've got like you were talking about automatic, like you've got it down to where you pretty much know what you need to take on those things. And so that's the other thing. The more you do this, the more you know what works really well for you. So the less time you do have to think about it because you're like, oh, I'm going to be out all day, or I'm going on the lake, or I'm going to the beach, whatever it may be. I know exactly what I need to bring to make sure I have a successful day and I feel really good about my day. All right. So, and we're talking about planning. So, you want to be able to plan for change. It's going to happen, right? Traveling, vacation, or if your schedules looks completely different, trying to force like your exact home at home routine into that situation usually just causes extra stress, frustration. I've tried to do that before and it does not work out well. So instead of expecting perfection, like focus on adapting and keeping those anchor habits in place. So again, think about it, plan it out. Like what is going to be different today? Maybe I have to eat out more. Maybe I can't train like I normally do. Maybe my schedule is just a little crazy and chaotic. Maybe my sleep's going to be off. So, okay. So like what anchor habits can I still keep in place? Maybe it's getting that protein in all day. Maybe it's getting enough steps in. Maybe it's being able to do a short workout instead of no workout. Again, consistency isn't doing the exact same thing every day. It's keeping your anchor habits in place even when life looks different.
Mhm. I did that in Japan too. Like, I wasn't trying to perfectly track every gram of food, definitely the opposite, but I knew I was walking a ridiculous amount every day. I was prioritizing protein where I could, brought my protein snacks, got workouts in where I could, drank my water, enjoyed food, and moved on. Like, I wasn't creating stress around it.
Yeah, and then I think that's the way to do it. The last comment, like you weren't creating stress around it. The more you plan, the more you're in control, and you're just going to feel better about whatever decision you decide to make with that. All right. Then we also talked about having a reset strategy because there's going to be times where things just kind of get they do out of control and you don't have a good weekend or you don't have a good day or maybe you totally plan for it and this is like, hey, this is going to be my weekend, this is going to be a day I know it's not going to be a normal day and I'm going to get off, but hey, I'm going to reset. So one of the phrases I like is win the weekend, right? So, and if we don't, quickly reset, right? And this is why, again, why the anchor habits matter so much. So, like one off-plan meal doesn't ruin your progress. The problem is one meal turns into like an entire weekend of, well, I screwed up, I messed it up. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's out of my control now. So instead of overreacting, you go back to your anchors. You get that protein in. You get as many steps in as you can. You get back to normal at the next meal, and it's not a punishment. There's no like, well, I'll just wait till Monday to get back on track. There's no like all or nothing mindset. You just return to the habits that you know will get you back on track.
Yeah, if you think about it too, a weekend can easily be half your week or, like, pretty dang close if you aren't careful. Like, if it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then if you're taking Monday, Tuesday to get back on track after, like, all the damage you did, like, that's literally, like, your whole week that you just sabotaged. So it's like, this stuff matters, and it is so important to have a plan, especially on the weekends, or even if you're traveling for a few days at a time. Like, you think it's just, part of the week, but it can turn out to be, like, a good chunk, and what you do in those 2 to 4 days can undo everything you've done well leading up to it. So it's just being mindful.
Yeah, and you can go out to eat, you can go have a really nice meal and eat, any kind of food you want and really enjoy it as long as you just don't go overboard, right? Like there's a difference between eating a few pieces of pizza and eating a whole pizza, right? And so, like you said, you can still enjoy it and if you're thinking about that, let's say you do have like a whole pizza on, maybe have a couple beers with it, and then the next day you wake up and you go out and you get some donuts, and then you're just eating out like all day and you're just snacking without thinking about it. You can easily take in as many calories those couple days that you did the entire week, right? And then if you think about sleep, if you're sleeping in a couple hours in the morning and then you're going to bed a lot later than you normally do, you're causing jet lag for yourself for the next couple days. So you can really throw yourself off in just a couple days. So it's not, again, it's not planning on being perfect. It's just planning on setting yourself up so that you still enjoy the weekend, but you're still able to get right back on track on Monday.
Mhm. And speaking of the reset strategy, though, I think regardless even if you're someone that's like, "Hey, like, I messed up, like, it wasn't how I necessarily wanted it to go," or if you did really well, like, every single week, I think you should be checking in with yourself. We do check-ins with clients every week where they go and reflect on this, like, "Hey, what were my goals for the week? Did I do it? Like, how aligned was I on my actions with what I said I wanted to do? Like, how am I feeling? Like, how did I hit all my protocols?" All these things, and so, like, we go through that with them and, help them with this and plan and reflect on what worked, what didn't, and what we need to adjust. But it's like everyone should be doing that with themselves and finding what works. And like if something threw you off, like that's okay. Like it's not a big deal, but just reflect on it and use that to learn. Be like, okay, like what threw it off? Like, was it the environment I was in? Did I not plan? Did I not pack ahead of time? Was it something unexpected that came up? So it's like really assess and reflect on what happened and come up with a plan for your week to overcome that or get back on track. So I think having some sort of reflection strategy is so important. And just taking inventory on what happened and what you want to do going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it doesn't have to take a long time. It's just sit there, reflect for a little bit, and say, "Okay, what went really well? And what didn't go really well?" Like you said, maybe there's some patterns that are going on, whether it's around stress or family or work or whatever it may be, that you can look at this week and make some sometimes it's just little tweaks here or there, little swaps here or there, just being a little more aware or observant of what's going on around you, and that can make a huge difference for your next week. And then just life going forward. And then also, I also wanted to add to, like, we're talking about wanting to do this for the rest of our life, right? We're not talking about quick fixes. We're not talking about this month. We're talking about the rest of our life. So if you do mess up a little bit, we have a long time. We gotta have, and it's going to take a lot of time anyway for changes. So we gotta have a lot of patience, so we can get there. It's all about being consistent the rest of our life, more time than not.
Yeah, no, such a good point. Like, in the grand scheme of things, even when we talk about, like, people when they're weighing in and they're like, "Oh, man, like, the weight went down." Like, "Look, zoom out. Look at the big picture. This is literally nothing in the grand scheme of life." So, yeah, not a big deal. You don't need to throw away all your progress or your goals or your dreams because of one bad weekend or one bad day, whatever it is. But yeah, I just think take that inventory, and like you said, it doesn't need to take a lot of time. And even with the adjustments that you make, it's like make it very small and manageable. That's what we do with clients. We never go and overhaul everything, even if clients had a bad week or a tougher week. Like we're just making small adjustments and helping them get back on track. And I think me and my friend actually kind of do this to some extent too. Every week, like I'm reflecting naturally, like I do my journal and all that, and I'll usually set my goals and intentions for the week. Then me and my friend, like we just kind of have an accountability. We'll just like send each other our goals for the week. It's usually just, like, kinda random stuff, personal stuff, or whatever that we wanted to work on, but, like, there's that piece of it too, is, like, set some goals for yourself, like, know the targets going in, and then having some accountability helps too.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
So, yeah, if you take one thing away from this episode, it's that life is always going to happen. I think the only predictable thing about life is that it's gonna be unpredictable, and so that's just part of it, and if your plan only works when it is predictable and perfect, that's not a good plan. The people that maintain results long term usually aren't perfect. They're just good at adapting. I think that's kind of what we've been talking about as a theme is just being able to adapt. And if this is something that you struggle with and you're sitting here thinking, yeah, it's literally me every weekend or every time I travel, that's why we put together our guide, the 5 steps to your next 5 pounds down. A lot of in there is what we talked about today, simple strategies, anchors, and practical things that you can actually implement so you can stop feeling like you're constantly starting over. And it gives you the exact framework to start seeing the scale move. So I'll drop that link in the show notes. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, share it with someone that needs to hear it, and we will catch you all on the next one.